Okay, so guys, good morning everyone and good evening. Let's start with today's topic. Today is no practical, guys. Today we'll focus on more of theory, and this is very important theory. So we'll talk about branching and merging strategy. Now, what exactly is branching and merging strategy? That is something we'll talk about. Now, first you need to understand on what basis will you create branches. Will you just blindly go and create n number of branches for yourself, or there should be any thumb rule to create branches? Okay, one idea to create, like whatever branches you will create, based on that branches you will have your build and release pipelines created. Keep that in mind, okay, based on projects what you're working on. So if you create n number of n number of branches, you'll have to create n number of pipelines eventually. So your branch is directly proportional to your pipelines what you create. Okay, so you need to keep that in mind, and this branching and merging strategy should be part of DevOps engineer's portfolio. A developer should not create this branching and merging strategy, because a developer will tend to do things based on his requirement, and being a DevOps engineer, you're not dealing with one or two developers. You will be dealing with n number of developers at once. Okay, and if you go with each developer's flexibility and comfort, then you're gone. Okay, so if any company who is giving all these roles and responsibility to a developer, the DevOps infra will not be successful. All these things should be kept separate, like how we do it in development, that your development activity and the testing should be separate. A different tester should come and do it. Same concept goes over here. Okay, if it's a small team of 2 or 3 people and they are doing DevOps also, so there's no need of a DevOps engineer, they will do it by themselves. But if it's a big team you're catering to, then you should definitely say a clear no to any developer getting involved into your branching and merging strategy and your policies making. Okay, because you're not making the policy keeping 1 or 2 developer in mind, even though you need to discuss with them, but the policy is for everyone. One of my example, I have worked one of the project wherein I had 150 developers on that project, and I was the only person creating the entire strategy, creating the entire automation. So just imagine if I will go ahead and listen to everyone, what is their requirement, what is their comfort, how difficult my life would be. Okay, so keep that in mind. Based on that, we'll be creating this branching and merging strategy. This strategy which I'll be showing you right now, you can use the exact same strategy for any mid-scale or large-scale projects. A small scale you will definitely tweak here and there, but yeah, you can use it as a mid-scale or large-scale project. There are multiple branching and merging strategy you can come across. There are Git flow and many things you will come across based on your project requirement. You can tweak here and there, but yeah, if you want to do an exact copy paste, or if you want to talk about this in an interview, you can definitely talk about this. Okay, but yeah, your depending upon the types of project, depending upon the size of your project and size of developers, you can play here and there. Okay, so keep that in mind. Then let's talk about branching first. What are the importance of those branching? Branching is nothing but it's about how many branches you will be created, and what are the importance of those branches first. So we'll talk about 3 branches strategy over here. The first branch which you will create will be a develop branch. This is definitely you will be creating whatever types of project you're working with. So basically this branch is used for your development activity, it could be your future development, past development, current development, could be anything. So all your development activity will be done using this branch. Okay, your development activity. Now coming to the other branch, that is the next branch should be your release branch. So your release branch is basically used for your release related activity. What is release related activity? So many companies, you will find out they have release related activity. Many companies, you will find out they will have weekly release, monthly release, fortnight release, quarterly release, all these release cycles what they follow. So based on this release cycle, you will be releasing your changes to production. Okay, now the first branch I talked about, that it has development activities, such as it has future development, past development, current development work. So in future they might, so company they forecast 3 months, 6 months future what they want to do. Okay, so they do beforehand, they do the development and they keep it. They will not release it to production. They will not because there are so many testing and things which goes in the background. Okay, so eventually slowly and steadily they will start releasing things. Okay, so those codes will be part of your release branch, which is getting released currently. Like for example, if you are releasing you have a release cycle that you will be releasing something on mid of Feb, somewhere around 18, 17 or whatever dates. Let's take it as 18th. So this week from 13 till 17, or if you're taking a 1 week or 2 week of cycle, then that will be your release cycle. That means during this cycle, all your changes which is getting deployed on 18th will be part of your release branch. So that is what release activity is all about. Okay, and the third branch which you will come across will be the main branch. Now this main branch is nothing but it's your production code. What exactly it is? It's your production code, or you can call it as golden copy of your production. Or you can call it as golden copy. What does this mean, golden copy? So this main branch has the running production code in it. If any given point of time, if anything happens to your production, and if you want to fall back to the stable previous version, so this is the location where the code will reside. This main branch eventually your developer should not have access to this main branch, because you don't want unnecessary commits and things getting pushed into the main branch. So this will be having the latest working copy of your production. That is what main branch is all about. You call it as main branch or master branch is one of the same thing. Nowadays when you create a repository on this tool such as Azure Repos, GitHub, GitLab, you will not find the naming convention master over there. Okay, you will see main. Master, the word itself is removed due to master and slave parity, so that the word is removed itself. Nowadays it's main branch. Okay, there's no master and slave or anything as such. Okay, so just to answer your doubt, it's exactly the same. Main and master is the same. So these are the three branches which eventually you will be using for your working. Okay, develop branch, all your development related activity will be part of your development branch. Release branch will be for your release related activity. Only your current release codes will be there in the release branch. Main branch will have production code. So production codes, it will be having the previous version stable which is currently running on your production. Anything happens to your product, like you did a new deployment and after the deployment things started failing, and you have production downtime. At that time you will switch back to the previous version, which was a stable working version of production. So you'll take that code from the main branch. Okay, now these are three branches. How my developer will be working? Will he start pushing things into the develop branch? He may. If you have a limited audience, limited developers, then you can give access to the development branch directly, and they can start putting things directly into the develop branch if you have limited audience. But what if you have 150 people? Like the example, the project which I have handled, 150 people developers. If you start giving them access to develop branch, they will start pushing things directly to the develop branch, that your develop branch may go haywire. It may go out of sync. It may happen that your develop branch is not accessible, or it may get corrupted because everyone is pushing and there's overlapping, over merging, there are many things happening. So in order to avoid such things, what you can do, you can ask the developer to create a temporary branch for themselves based on the tickets what they create. So this will be created by, this temporary branch will be created by developer, okay, by themselves. Like suppose I'm the developer, so I'll go and create this temporary branch and I'll start working on it. So this temporary branch will be created and it will have local development activity, local developers dev codes. So whatever development they're doing and whatever sort of development they're doing, all the development will be done at this branch. Okay, so one question. So I've showed you how do we create branches, correct? So if you go into any existing branch, and from there if you create the new branch, then the new branch will be created based out of that existing branch. So what do you think, out of this three branch, develop, release and main, from which branch the developer should create a new branch? Anyone? Out of develop, release and main, which branch developer should use to create a temporary branch for their working? Is it
It's a future branch.
future?
Developer.
Future branch.
So future branch we don't have right now. I'll talk about the future and feature branch later. And other one said develop branch, correct? Can you tell me the reason why develop branch?
Because we will start from the existing code that we are running. It means in the develop branch there will be the code where we want to make changes, and then it will go to release.
Perfect. Absolutely right. So this is what the answer should be. From develop branch, the reason is very straightforward. Your develop branch has your current code as well as your future code. If any developer wants to start any new development, he needs to see what others have already done it. So that information is only available with develop branch, not with the release. Release is only for your release specific. Main has production code. If you take main, if you clone it, create a new branch out of main branch, it has a previous version of your production, nothing related with current. So it's of no use. So answer is develop branch, correct. Okay, someone spoke about future branch. So I think you mean feature branch, correct?
Yes, Rohit. Yes, future branch.
Okay, so let's talk about this feature branch also, guys. You may come across this feature branch concept in some of the projects. So this thing is getting handled over here, your development activity, your current release activity, your production code. Now there are scenarios which you will come across wherein the client will ask that I want this new feature to be developed, but I don't want to deploy this new feature yet to the production, but I want to deploy this somewhere in the middle so that I can have a look and feel, or a limited audience should have a look and feel of this feature, and if we think this is the right feature, then I will implement in production. Okay, so the client has a requirement that he wants to have a new feature created, and that new feature needs to be deployed in some pre-stage environment, pre-prod environment. So in such cases we have UAT, that's a user acceptance testing environment, where it is more like production, guys. It's a replica copy of production, you can say it. So you can deploy a new feature on UAT, you can give it to your client. Now a limited audience will do the testing, and they will see, they will have a look and feel, and if they think, yeah, this is looking good, they will eventually move the code into production. But how do we handle such things? In develop branch I cannot handle, because that is a development activity I am doing, and from develop branch my things will go into the lower environment. Okay, how do I put it in UAT? So that is where a new branch will get created, that is known as feature branch. So feature branch is for your feature activity. If you have anything at such requirement wherein you want to create a new feature, then you will handle this using a feature branch. Okay, so this will have code such as new feature code. Okay, so eventually, now being a DevOps engineer, what are the codes you will be handled? What are the branches you will be handling? You will be handling develop branch, you will be handling release branch, you will be handling main branch, and feature. These are the 4 branches which you will be handling, guys, and make sure don't create more branches than this. 4 is more than enough. Let me tell you the reality. In reality, you will have, it's just not just creating a branches, you need to manage the branches, you need to add policies to the branches, you need to add rules to the branches, you need to create pipelines to the branches. There are many things involved. If you just create one branch, there are many things you need to do. Okay, let the developer create any temporary branch for themselves, you have no problem with it. But these are the 4 important branch which you should not allow others to touch. Okay, and based on these branches you will have your policies. Okay, now I'm taking an example in this branching and merging strategy. I'll take an example of 4 environments, in fact 5 environments. So we'll have dev and QA as a lower environment, we'll have stage and production as a upper environment, and we'll have a UAT environment, because we have added feature branch also. So from your develop branch, when you're doing a development activity, from your develop branch you will have your code pushed into the lower environment, that is dev and QA. So this is your dev and this is your QA environment. Okay, and in between these arrows which you're seeing, guys, this is not just for namesake. This arrow will be your build pipeline, and whatever I'm designing, guys, this is something we'll actually do. Okay, we'll create these branches, we'll have these pipelines created, we'll be releasing things into dev and QA. This is actually in reality we'll be doing. Okay, so just for namesake I'm not creating anything. Okay, dev.
Hello.
Yeah, tell me.
So there is any difference between temp user branch and feature branch, because both are related with development branch.
Okay, so there is a difference, there's a wide difference. This branch which you're seeing over here, this will be cloned out a develop branch, and this is a kind of a local branch for developer. This developer will be using this branch for his own development activity, and from here, from this branch the developer will be deploying things. From this branch the developer will be deploying things on local system. Where exactly he'll be deploying things? Locally. Like suppose if I'm creating any tool, if I'm creating any application, and I'll run that application locally on my system to test it. Okay, so this will be eventually moved into the local system of the developers. Okay, now on the other hand, this feature is from where the code will be moved into, it will have its own build pipeline, and this from this feature branch the code will be moved into UAT environment. This UAT is a pre-prod environment. What did I say? This UAT, it's a pre-prod environment, and from this feature branch the code will be moved into UAT environment. This is not local, this is a copy of your production. So this is a local. So even for a new feature creation, a developer will be creating a temporary branch from out of develop, and once the and he will do the local activity, he'll push the changes to the local, and from there he'll be pushing changes to the develop, so that the changes should go to the low environment. Then from there the changes will be moved into feature. Okay, so feature is totally different than this temp branch. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, don't worry, when I'll explain the merging strategy, at that time you'll understand more about this feature and things like that, how the code will be moving. At that time you'll understand. Okay, now from the release branch the code will be moved into the upper environment. Now when I say upper environment, I'm talking about the stage environment and the production environment. The stage and the production. Stage is again a replica copy of production. So basically all the load testing and everything is done in the stage environment, and post that the code will be moved into production. Okay, so once you're done with the QA gives you a go ahead that the code is looking good, then the code will be moved into release branch. From there the code will be moved into stage, and eventually it will go into production during the release cycle. Now these are the 4 environments which I'm talking about: dev, QA, stage, production, and UAT. And these are the 4 branches which we talked about. Develop branch is for your development activity, release branch for your release related activities, main branch is for it's a production code or a golden copy, feature is for new feature. From development branch the code will be moved into the lower environment, that is your dev and the QA. This is the place where your QA testing happens, guys. So this is from reality I'm talking about, in real time. This is the place where your QA will test that whatever code has been created has been tested with all the scenarios. Okay, post the code is tested in QA, the code is moved into stage. This is again the place where the load testing happens, and in some companies they have a separate load environment where exactly they do the load testing and things like that. So load testing is basically they check, they put everything, they put all the load on that particular VM and the application to test it, how it works in a robust, whether the code is robust or not, whether the code is breaking if you are getting unprecedented traffic and things like that. So there are n number of load testings what they do, and once this is all good, then the code moves into production. That will be during the release cycle. So if you're following continuous deployment methodology, then during the release cycle they will move the code into production. This is how the branching and merging strategy will happen. Now let's talk about how the code will be moving, like how the code will be moving from up to down. This is what we'll need to understand now. Now what did I say earlier, that whenever developers, suppose you are the developer, okay, let me take my name, like suppose I am the developer, I'm starting with a new feature. I want to create a new feature, new page for my application. What is the first thing, being a developer, I'll be doing from this branching and merging strategy? The first thing is I'll be creating a temporary branch for myself. As answered earlier, the temporary branch will be created out of my develop branch. We all know the reason why, because the develop branch has the development activities, current and the future code. I'll have the new code, new branch created for myself. Okay, I have created this branch. I have done my development activity. I'm done with my development. I have put the code into my lower environment. Lower environment, I'm talking about my local VM, my own laptop. Suppose that is the place where I test my own code. I've developed that application page. I have tested it on my local. On my local, it is working perfectly. Okay. Now I'll be pushing that code to my develop branch. I'll be pushing my code into my develop branch as it is. Okay, so this is the place where I'll raise a PR. I haven't talked about PR yet. So PR, just for your knowledge, it's a pull request. Using the pull request, I'll be putting the code into my develop branch from one branch to other branch. Okay, so like we have seen what is git merge. So in this case, I'll be using things in Azure repos. I'll not be using git merge. Over here, we create a PR for merging two branches. Okay, so this is the pull request which we'll be creating over here. What type of pull request it will be and what are the merge strategy I'll be using, that is something we'll see it later, guys, because as of now we don't know what is rebasing, what is squash, what is semi-linear, what is non-linear. So these all things you guys don't know, so I'll not talk about that right now. That is something we'll talk about that later. Therefore now just understand that I'll be putting the code from one branch to other branch, and I'll create a pull request. I'll be pulling the changes from one branch to other branch. Once the code is there in my develop branch, okay, I'll have my build pipeline over here. Build pipeline is basically, it will build your application, and eventually it will create an artifact. Artifact is nothing but it's an output file which will eventually get deployed to your end servers. Again, I'll talk about this build in a greater details, guys, so don't get confused. Just imagine this is again a pipeline which will create an output file which will eventually deployed at your end server. So once your build is successful, your changes will be deployed into dev and QA. Now dev is a lower environment, guys. Okay, so your changes will be deployed into dev, and most of the developers will have access to dev environment, wherein they can go and have a look and feel how the application which they have, the development what they have done, is it looking. Now even they will have some sort of testing what needs to be done. That is something they will do it over here itself. Okay, now once the dev is successful, the code will be moved into QA. Now in companies we'll have a dedicated QA team who will do all sort of manual and automation testing over here. Okay, so they will do all sort of QA testing with all sort of scenarios, and once they give a green flag that things are looking good, now the things can be put across other environments. Now the code will be moved from your develop branch to again a PR. Again a PR will be moved from a develop branch to release branch. Now there is a problem. Now what did I say? Your develop branch has all development related activities like future and current. Now release, what did I say? Release is only for release activity, and the code will only be moved into release branch when there is a release cycle. Like as I said, as I gave you the example that we have a release on 18th. So during this week only the code will start getting moved into release and things will start getting pushed into my upper environment. But the problem over here is this develop branch has all the code. If I raise a merge request between develop and release, everything will get pushed into release, which I don't want. Everything will be pushed into release, which I don't want. So how do I handle, what is the strategy we'll be using over here? Question to you all. If I have n number of commits in one branch, and if I want to push specific commits into other branch, what should I do?
switch, or we're gonna merge from a specific branch to another branch?
If we merge, then everything will be copied.
Git squash, it will merge whatever you want
Git
the commit to.
If you want to do a specific
Mm,
commit, you do the
You
cherry
do
picking.
cherry picking.
Yes, absolutely right. Cherry picking concept, guys. This is something I have covered. And squash and all I have not covered, so that's a different story. Squash will not help you, but I have not covered, then I'll not talk about squash right now. That is something we'll cover later. But cherry picking is the concept. Don't miss this concept. CP. If you want specific commits to be pushed into your specific branches, then cherry picking. As I said, develop has n number of changes. You cannot do a PR directly. You need to start cherry picking specific commits, which is going into release. You could have 100 commits over here, 100 features created over here. Out of 100, only 2 features you want to deploy into production. Cherry picking is the right word to use. And from there, the code will be moved into stage. Stage is more like production, guys. You can call it as a replica mirroring of production, wherein if you deploy things in stage, very rarely the code will fail in production. So all your integration testing, your dynamic testing, everything happens over here in stage environment. Okay, once the code is moved into stage, the code will be eventually moved into production when the release is happening. Like on 18th there is a release, so during the release date the code will be moved into production. Okay, so this is I'm talking about if you have bi-weekly release, monthly release, quarterly release, half-yearly release. Even though if you follow daily release, this is the cycle which you need to follow. Once the code is moved into production, all the testing is happened, all the integration testing happens, all the regression, black box, white box testing. So there are n number of testing which they do. Once everything is happened, and once you get a go ahead from the front end client and application and everyone, your end users, all the stakeholders, then the code will be moved with your main branch. Then the code will be moved, again a PR will be created and the code will be moved into the main branch, and some sort of tagging will happen that version 1.1, 1.0 major release has happened. So some kind of tagging you will do it over here. With what did I say about the tagging? With the help of tagging you'll come to know what exactly you have done eventually in the future. Okay, so some sort of tagging you will do so that you come to know what exactly we have done. Okay, so this is the story of your 3 branches, and you will not have any pipelines, build and release pipelines over here, guys, because that is something, as I said earlier, you should not touch your main branch for all this daily activity thing. Now this feature branch. Okay, now even if you have scenario wherein you need to create a new feature, even if you have a scenario wherein the client says that I'm not ready yet to move changes to production, but I want to have a look and feel and I want to see how this feature behaves. Okay, so in such cases, how will you push code into feature? Will you put it directly from your temp to your feature? No, that's incorrect. If you do it, what will happen? All your other branches will go out of sync. You need to make sure that each and every branches are in sync. Whatever code you have it in release, eventually that code should be in develop. All other things should happen. So in case of feature, guys, your code will be moved the same way how it is moving into release. It will be moving in from the temp to develop, then from the develop branch it will be moved to feature. Okay, so you'll have a PR first. So it's the same story. A developer will be creating a local branch out of temp, and then he will cloning the develop branch and he'll do the local development. Then once he's done with the local development, he will be creating a PR. From there he will be pushing the code into develop. Eventually the code will be moved till QA. When the QA gives a go ahead, the things are looking good. The only difference will be the code will not move into the release branch, but the code will go to the feature branch over here. And the code, once the code is again a cherry picking concept, guys. As I said, from develop branch, if you're moving anything anywhere, then it's a cherry picking concept. And then the code will be moved into UAT environment, where the look and feel, whatever the client wants, will be given to them. Okay. Now the client says, okay, whatever feature you have developed, things looking good. I am very happy with this feature. Now you can put it in production. Now there will be a reversal. From feature, the code will be moved into release branch. Again, it will follow the release cycle only, guys. It will not go directly anywhere. It will go again a PR, and if there are multiple features, then again a CP, cherry picking. This way I'll have all my branches synced. Then again the production is done, then code will come to main. All my other branches are in sync. Okay, so this is how you need to tackle things. Now I have one more scenario over here which you will definitely come across. Okay, how will you handle emergency changes? ECR, emergency change request. When I say emergency, I'm talking about issues, bug fix. How do you handle in this? This is, I'm just talking about typical about how your typical daily development activity will take care. What about ECR? ECR is emergency change. Like that means there is some production downtime which is happening. There is a financial loss to the company. You cannot wait for release date. I'll fix things during the release date only and things. This is bullshit. You cannot do that. If you get any such change, ECR, that your front end, suppose you're taking care of Amazon.com and Amazon.com homepage itself is not working. Oh, so we're talking about a big loss to the company. You cannot follow this cycle. How will you put changes to production with minimum testing so that your issues is resolved? In such cases, you will have a environment created over here, production, directly at your main branch, and you will have your build pipeline created directly from your main branch. I know I have said that will not touch main branch, but this is how. And then if you have some ECR, the developer will direct clone or create a new branch again for himself, push the changes to develop branch. It will go into develop branch, guys. Things will go via develop branch only. Keep that in mind, okay? Because things needs to be tested locally first. Whatever new development you're doing, whether it's a ECR or bug fix, things needs to be tested at the lower level first. Now once this is done, the only difference is from develop, again directly the code will move into main branch. Why main branch? Because main branch has my working copy. It has all the production code and the working copy. In that we got a emergency change. Now from develop to main directly, and the code will directly go to production. No stage and all. We'll skip that part for now. If you have any emergency change which is a financial loss to the company, then from develop directly the code will be moved into main, and from main eventually the code will be moved to production. Okay, this is how you'll be handling ACR and bug fix. Okay, now you said like all my branches should be in sync, so don't worry, later when this goes in streamline, you can merge the release branch and you can merge the main branch also with the new change what later when you're done with your production fix. Okay, this is how. I've not talked about the merging strategy, like where to use squash, where to use semi-linear and all this is I'll talk about this on Monday, but for now this is what your branches should be. That is the reason at the beginning I said you should keep yourself limited to limited branches. You should not unnecessarily create more branches if you are working for a small project, guys. So this is for large scale and medium scale projects strategy. You can use it. If you're working for a small, then you can take out this release branch from between, and there's no need of a feature branch also. You can just play with this develop and release main branch, and you can have limited pipelines created if you have limited set of people. If it's a small project, then you don't need even this release and feature branch. You can do your development work from here, and you can do your release from main branch itself. So you can play around this strategy which I'm talking about. This is known as Git flow. You can go and look on Git official website, you will find this strategy over there. Okay, so this is what you should do. You should play around with this. So this is the main strategy which I'm talking about. Now you can go and edit this strategy based on the project which you're working. You can use the exact same strategy. You can add few more branches, you can minimize few more branches depending upon what is the requirement you're facing, but eventually you'll end up doing such things. Now whatever you see over here, this complete thing we'll eventually do when we do our live projects. Okay, this is something we'll do it for ourselves, and in reality we'll see how exactly things works. Okay, there's one more part is remaining, the merging. What are the different types of merging we'll be using, how the code will be moved from develop to release, release to main to feature. This is all part of merging. We'll see it when we understand squash, semi-linear, rebase and all. Okay, so that's it from the strategy part. If anyone has any questions, please do let me know about the strategies.
I do, please.
Yep, tell me.
Yeah. So based on your explanation, what I can comprehend right now is this diagram right here is the normal standard Git flow, but each organization can decide to use their own flow as they fit in, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. I get it.
Okay, but organization will not decide. When you start working on a project, this is what you need to pitch in from the strategy perspective. Why you need to pitch in? You will be the one who will be handling all this by yourself. Eventually you need to take care of all these 4 branches, all these pipelines you will be creating, all this build and the release pipeline. You will be the policy maker for your DevOps infrastructure. This is something you need to pitch into your developers. You need to take a buyout from the developers that, yeah, this looks good. This is something we can go for. Once you get the buyout from all the stakeholders, you can start preparing yourself to create this infrastructure. Okay, so yeah, and you may get suggestion, yeah, this is looking good, you can add more branches, you can delete these branches. We don't need release branch. This is not the we don't have a number of people, so we don't need any, because this is an additional headache of merging branches to release then to main. We don't need extra work, and so you can get many things from the developer. Take their feedback. Based on that feedback, go and customize your branching and merging strategy. Go back, take a buyout, then start creating things by yourself. But eventually this is something you need to do it by yourself. Just keep that in mind. Okay, anyone else? Any doubt, any questions about merging policies? And don't worry, I think you should have one doubt over here, that how do we restrict the developers, that you should do development activity in develop branch only, and release branch should have only release activity code, and only at the specific week you all should start putting code into release branch. We are just talking. Do you think if you have 100 developer and if you go and tell everyone that this is what you need to do, they will follow your words? Out of 100, not even 5 people will follow. They will do what they want. They will not even create a temporary branch for themselves. They'll start doing development activity on develop branch. So they will not follow you. Mark my words. Okay. We need to make them follow. Don't worry, we'll have all the restrictions. I'll show you how do we add restrictions at the branch level. That it will not even let them, if they try to push directly something to the develop, release, main and feature branch, it will not even let them push. It will start throwing errors. So all this restriction, how do we impose? Everything will cover in these sessions. In the next week, it's all about Azure repos, wherein we'll cover all this. Okay. So if you have any such questions, then don't worry. We'll have restrictions, we'll have policies in place which will make sure that whatever we are defining in my branching and merging strategy, they need to follow it. They cannot override. Okay, just keep that in mind. Okay, any questions, guys? No questions?
Oh, is that where the role of the DevOps comes in approving their merge? Based on what my friend told me, I'm just trying to make some connection here.
Yes, approval policies and all, that's a different ball game. So yeah, when the PR will be created, we'll have this PR which we are creating over here. We'll have approval policies. So I don't want my DevOps engineers to get involved in this approval policies and all. So I want the developers lead and the SMEs to take care of all this, because see, being a DevOps engineer, already you're loaded with so many tools and so many things. Unnecessary getting involved into approval, I don't want that to happen. So yeah, over here I'll not suggest DevOps engineers to approve anything. And plus, on what basis will you approve? Have you created the code? Do you know what logic the developer has written? Have you tested it by yourself on a lower environment that you will go and approve it? No, you're not the right person to approve. Who should approve it? The immediate SMEs. Because tomorrow if something happens, that the code was pushed into production and there are something got breaked, who is responsible? A DevOps engineer, if you're approving it. Why? People will ask, why did you approve it? What expertise do you have in this logic what the developer has created? So it's better to give it to SMEs, because the SMEs are working with them. They know what they have developed, what loop logics they have created. They are in the better position to approve. So yes, answering to your question, Ahmed, we do have approval policies which we'll talk about, but it will not be done by DevOps engineers. Just keep that in mind. Okay, make sense? Ahmed, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it's those. I have a friend doing this, so I've been talking to him a lot. So when you're saying all this, I'm trying to, connect the dot together. That's why I'm asking that question. But yeah, you do answer my question. Thank you.
No worries. Perfect. When you start working on it, you'll connect all the dots. And this is from experience, I'm saying. Okay.
Rohit, one question here. As a part of PR, so PR is, who will be raising the PR request as a the DevOps engineer or developers? Who develop the code?
DevOps engineer will not do any such things.
Okay.
This is all done by developers. You will not do
Okay.
anything. The only thing you will do is merging the code from release to main. When the changes are deployed into production and you got a go ahead that things are looking good, this is the PR will be raised by DevOps engineers. That's it, wherein you will just tag it and you will just mark it as successful release, and that's it. Nothing else will, no other PR, no other approval, nothing will be done by DevOps engineers. It's all developers responsibilities. Okay,
Okay, Rohit.
because I've seen like this is a very right genuine question, because I've seen DevOps engineers doing unnecessary tasks and keeping them busy, which should be done by the developers. Like classic example of approval. Why do you need a DevOps engineer to approve? Second, why do a DevOps engineer goes and do a PR or do a cherry picking? What DevOps engineer will know what development the developer has done? There are n number of development that they are doing. What will know that which code to cherry pick? Okay, understood that the developer will say go and cherry pick this code. We are over here for development. We are developing all this. We are not doing operational work. If the developer has such requirements wherein he want someone to go and cherry pick for him, which eventually should not happen, but rare case, then that responsibility will be given to operational team, not DevOps team. DevOps are not doing this. So why I am very redundant about such things, guys, and stubborn about such things? Because in reality, if you take up this small task, you'll get stuck. You have to start giving things to others, asking them to do their responsibility, and there are eventually other things for you to do. There are so many things in your bucket that if you start keeping these small things under you, and eventually if you do it once or twice, if you don't ask the developer to do it, you will end up doing for the whole life. So whatever is not your responsibility, doing the training, because after all this you set up, you need to give training to the developers, and you need to be very specific what it's their responsibility, what is my responsibility, and everything to be very specific, and then eventually you should have a documentation created and shared across. That's this how you should work in reality. Okay, anyone else? Any other questions?
Is it true the developers and the DevOps do have clash most of the time?
Yes, it's absolutely true. Always a clash, but you have to balance it out. You have to listen, Lucy. Eventually you're doing developing which will help the developers to do their task. Okay, so you need to listen to them. It's not that you need to give advice and suggestion from your side, but you need to listen to what their requirement is, because they are the person, they are the end user for you. If you take it this way, they are your consumers. They will be consuming your pipelines, build pipeline, release pipeline, your branches and all. So you need to take their feedback, and you need to, at the same time, you need to set up a threshold about your policies and everything. You should. So that is why I said it should be balanced. It's not you just have to listen to them. Whatever they say, do it. No. It should be a balance. You need to listen, take their feedback, based on that give your suggestion, and eventually come to a common ground wherein everyone is happy. Okay, so yeah, clash is, yes, definitely there is a clash, but let me tell you, if you are a good DevOps engineer and if you're giving things reasonably, no one will come and back answer you. Whatever policies you have set, things, let me tell you, when I take in trainings in my own company after setting up this complete DevOps infrastructure, so I eventually tell them this is what it is, you need to go and follow it. Okay, and if they have, so mostly what doubts they will have, how do I do it? Because most of the developer, they are just focused on developing their application and whatever they are developing. They don't know about this Git and all. Mostly developer, they don't even know about Git. So all these basic things you need to teach them, that this is how it happens, this is what the policies is, this is how you will be working with. So all this training part is also a DevOps engineer's responsibility, guys. Okay, so along with the course, whatever responsibilities we will be doing, I'm sharing with you all. Okay, that's it for me, guys. If anyone has anything, please let me know, or we can wind up the call. Next week, Azure repos is something we are starting with. Okay, so anyone? No one? Okay. Thank you very much. Happy weekend to everyone. Let's meet next week and start with new topics. Bye bye.